Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And the PFL is back for the Champions Series. We have Paul Hughes taking on the Magomedov II, Dagestan taking on Ireland. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host to break it all down, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
We got a full card here to break down. We're going to jump right into the early prelims. And kicking things off, we have Gregory Babene taking on Al-Silawi. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this opening prelim bout?
I went with Babene in this one. What I have is both men have a lot of wins. They have a lot of losses. You know, they can fight pretty much anywhere this fight's going to go. But I believe the pressure, the aggression, the power, they all lean toward Babene. Al-Silawi, I think that's how we're saying it, is a little more technical, as a good side to side movement. But sometimes he needs you to play into that game of, you know, I throw a strike, you parry, I throw a jab, you move out the way. You know what I mean? Like, he needs you to play that, like, I shoot, you sprawl. He needs you to get in that flow with him so he can get a rhythm going. And I think the fact that Babene's probably just going to come out, and as he does, he just throws hammers and keeps coming forward. And I think when you're technical, but you need your opponent to play technical too, I think that's gonna be his downfall. So I think Babene's gonna come in and just overwhelm him.
Yeah, Carlos and we see this pretty much the same way. I'm going with Babene as well. I did not like what I saw on Al-Silawi's side when I'm watching tape study. Jared Hassan Al-Silawi. Very, very negative fighter. He's always kind of dancing around on the outside. He's always being heavily pressured. He gets backed up very easily. He's constantly tripping over the side of the fence just because he's always being backed up against the fence. Very slow and unathletic. I do not trust his chin either with the amount of times that he's been finished. He'll blast kicks from the outside. He'll look to be able to lunge in with the hands. He's not necessarily very technical with the boxing. He will look to mix in grappling. I would say probably his best skill set is his jiu-jitsu. In terms of looking for the submissions, obviously Babene has been submitted multiple times throughout his losses in his career. But I just don't understand how this guy could be Brave FC champion. I don't know what Al-Silawi's done in order to win a belt in any organization. Just being a very negative fighter and not a guy that I trust. But obviously Babene Babene is 41 years old, so who knows? But like Carlos said, he is the more aggressive fighter. I can rely on him to actually put some output out there and get in the face here of Al-Silawi. And I just like the fact that he's going to be the aggressor in this matchup. Obviously, he has been submitted multiple times in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if Al-Silawi is able to latch up some sort of choke here. But I just think that he can be the aggressor here. He's going to throw the harder shots. He's going to be more technical on the feet. I think he's fought the higher level of competition. I trust him to be the aggressor. That's why I'm going to pick him here. I think this fight sucks. I think it belongs on the early prelim opener. I think this has got finished either side, you know, pretty much guaranteed to open up this card. But give me Gregory Babene here, the Frenchman, to kick off the card. And next up, we have John Mitchell taking on the Russian name that I'm going to butcher here. We've got Yagshimuradov, Zaynukov. Carlos, who you got in this matchup?
Pretty good, Yagshimuradov. I like that one. I'm going to go with Zaynukov in this one. He has decent stand-up, high-level grappling, not really able to completely dominate his opponents on the ground, but he will take opponents down throughout the fight. It's just it looks like he tends to spend a little bit more energy trying to keep them down, whereas like if he tries to create space for ground and pound, they're able to at least create some space and get back up. Whatever space he needs to throw strikes is what people are using to get up, and he's having a hard time keeping them down. But in his favor, he is able to get them back down. So I just feel that he's going to be able to get Mitchell down, and he's going to be able to not really control him, but, you know, he's not going to take much damage. Mitchell's not going to take much damage once he's on the ground. he's going to be able to get back up. I just think it's going to be a little bit more of a wrestling display from Zaynukov, only because like if there's no way you can, keep your opponent controlled on the ground, like getting them down is really not that big of a deal. You need to do some damage, in my opinion. You need to do some type of damage or try to go for some type of submission to at least look like you're trying to impose yourself on your opponent. And I don't think he'll be able to do that to Mitchell. But what I do feel he's going to be able to do is keep him pressed against the cage, keep taking him down, and probably just smothering whatever offense that Mitchell has to offer. Mitchell can get back up. He does have, a pretty good submission game as well. So it's not like he's not going to know what's coming his way. It's just I don't think he's going to have enough. I don't know. He's not going to be able to create the space he needs on the feet to strike. And then when it goes to the ground, he might even just play a little jiu-jitsu off his back. And, that won't be in his favor because it's going to make it look like he's being controlled. So I'm going to take Zaynukov to win this. I don't find him to be very impressive, but I think that Mitchell could win this. I just think that he likes to be on the ground too, and that could be one of his downfalls in this.
Yeah, too, for Zaynukov here. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell does pull this upset off. I think in the striking, both guys, they tend to be a little bit low volume. They tend to throw one strike at a time, not necessarily landing combinations. I think Mitchell will, kind of fight a little bit more behind the jab, whereas Zaynukov is really trying to look to throw hooks and counters when his opponent comes in. Both guys obviously like to look to grapple, and I think that's going to be Mitchell's downfall here. I think Mitchell needs to stay out of the clinch and really just use his striking. But when it comes to the striking, he does stay fundamental. But like I said, it's really only one strike at a time, not necessarily known for the power, more just kind of picking at you from range with the kicks, kind of to the calf, to the body. He's not necessarily known for the power shots. Where I've seen Mitchell have success is, getting takedowns, blast doubles, nice trips, and being able to get top pressure and really land, kind of a little bit of ground and pound and really control you on the ground. I'd like to see him do a little bit more damage when he gets in dominant positions, but I don't think he's going to be able to get Zaynukov down and actually control him. So I think his best path to victory here is kind of fighting on the outside, which I don't think he's going to be able to do. Zaynukov obviously trains over at Eagles MMA Academy. He's a training partner of Movled, obviously known in the PFL. Sergey Pavlovich, obviously known over in the UFC. And he's a guy that he looks to counter with the hands. And as Carlos mentioned, he's pretty much a high-level grappler, competes in grappling competitions as well. We've just seen, I think, time and time again from these, Dagestani Russian fighters that when it comes to the wrestling that they are levels above. And I just think that Mitchell here is, he's going to want to look to wrestle, and I don't think that he's going to be able to do that here against Zaynukov. So pretty much this fight just comes down to the fact that Zaynukov is going to be the heavy-handed puncher along with the better wrestler here. I think Mitchell needs to stay off the fence. I think Zaynukov's going to be able to get him to the fence, clinch him, take him down, drag him down, wear on him. And ultimately this fight's going to be a little bit boring, I think. A lot of top pressure here from Zaynukov, and I think that's ultimately going to win him the decision here. And next up, we have Vinicius Cenci taking on Takashi Izumi, and I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this matchup?
I'm taking Cenci in this one. I think he offers a lot of danger on the ground, whether he's on top or if he's on his back. So I think that's going to pose a problem for Izumi since he sometimes wants to take his opponent down. Striking is not impressive, but he does use it to his advantage, just to try to close the distance and get closer to his opponents. And I'm not impressed with Izumi. He doesn't have any big finishes. He doesn't come out with big power. He doesn't have great combinations. He doesn't have incredible wrestling, and he tends to go the distance because he does win the scrambles a lot. So that's why it could look like if he's on top, he's winning this. I just feel that Cenci is going to be pretty comfortable on his back, whether he's going to sweep him or whether he's just going to, try to tie him up for a submission. I just think that Cenci's probably going to have an ability to win and most anywhere on the ground, but standing up, I would say that if it stays standing, Izumi's probably got a chance to win. He's not going to put him out, but he could probably outpoint him. But yeah, I'm going with Cenci in this one.
Yeah, two for Cenci here. If you ask me honestly, my honest opinion, I want to sit here and make a good case for the Japanese fighter in Izumi, but the guy sucks, if I'm being honest. He really should have just stayed in the wrestling world. The 2017 World Wrestling semi-finalist, that's pretty much his accolade, but when it comes to MMA, he's new to the game and he looks it. He looks lost in the stand-up. When it comes to his previous fight as well, he pretty much just clinches and can't really get guys down, even against the fence. And Cenci, training over at King's MMA, he's been inside the MMA world for a while. He's got more experience in the cage, and his striking, although is basic, it only needs to be basic here for him to beat Izumi. He does have good submissions as well. He had a good showing against Brent Primus in that fight, was able to sweep Brent Primus in a few moments in those fights. And I think, like I said, earlier, I think if it comes down just to the striking, I think Cenci can have success here as well. I don't trust Izumi at all. 36 years old as well. He's the smaller guy in this matchup. He's going to have a reach disadvantage here. He's been KO'd in 2 of his losses as well. I say it time and time again on this channel. This one screams one-way traffic for me. It's Cenci or pass here. I don't like anything about Izumi unless he can get this fight to the ground consistently, kind of lay in the guard of Cenci and just control him for 3 straight rounds. I think either he gets swept, gets submitted, or gets knocked out on the feet. So I think Cenci's pretty much the only pick here I could make. And unfortunately, we were supposed to see Adjoudj taking on another name I'm going to butcher here in Akhtamov. And unfortunately, this fight did get cancelled. Adjoudj had to pull out. So this one was a late scratch here for us on the Ground and Pound podcast. We were definitely looking forward to this one. Is there anything that you wanted to say about this fight, Carlos, before we move on?
Like you said already, we were looking forward to Adjoudj. He's making a lot of improvements every time he's in there. Coming from just kickboxing, his grappling is actually one of his stronger suits too. Like he's using it very effectively, and because it's opening up the striking, and he's a very smart fighter. I can't wait to see him back in there again.
Yeah, and Akhtamov, he looked decent on tape too. The power in the hands, he mixes in grappling. I think that would have been a good fight. Shame on them. Hopefully we get to see that matchup in the future.
Yep.
And next up, we have Omar El Dafrawy. I'm not sure how you pronounce that last name. Taking on Florim Zendeli. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this matchup?
I'm taking El Dafrawy in this one. I think that's how you say it, Dafrawy. I don't know. But anyway, heavy puncher. It's heavy striking in general. It's pretty hard to not have heavy strikes when you throw everything into your strikes. So always pressuring, presses the action, solid ground game. Uses it when it's available, but from what I've seen, he does like to stay on the feet. Zendeli, it's a tough guy. Shows he could take a shot, but it all depends on who's giving you the shot. And I think that if he takes a clean shot from Dafrawy here, he's probably not going to take it that well. And if he takes one, the second and the third one aren't going to be taken very well. So you can't do that against a guy like Umar here. And I think he's probably going to end up putting him out. Excuse me, guys. And that's how I see this. So I see Omar El Dafrawy as I feel like I'm saying it funny every time, but yeah, that's who I'm taking.
Yeah, I like Dafrawy. I think this is a good fight too. This is a nice matchup here. I like the kicks from the outside. He does have very, very powerful kicks, Dafrawy, but I'm actually going to go with Zendeli. Is it Zendeli? Both guys definitely have a path to victory here. I think if Dafrawy fights on the outside, blast kicks, and kind of, changes levels in terms of, going to the body, dropping the hands of Zendeli here and then going upstairs, he could definitely land some powerful kicks that Zendeli also is very, very heavy on his lead leg. He could definitely chew up that calf. My biggest issue here in this matchup is that I think that Zendeli can mix in some grappling. I've seen in a few of his fights that he is very positionally sound. He's always working on being able to get fights to the ground. He is, as I mentioned, a little bit heavy on that lead leg. He likes to throw a lot of, kind of jabbing front teep kicks at times, but not necessarily known for kind of chewing up the calf himself or kind of going upstairs with the head kicks, which is why I think Dafrawy's, kicking game might give him some problems. But I think if Zendeli has heavy forward pressure here, uses his boxing and kind of mixes in the boxing and the wrestling, I think he can have success kind of corralling the kicks here of Dafrawy. I think he mixes in some grappling here. I think that as the bigger guy, the slightly bigger guy here, he's going to have a little bit of height and reach advantage here when it comes to being in the closer range, at least. If he just kind of fights on the outside, I think he's going to get chewed up when it comes to the calf. He's going to get destroyed. I think the kicks of Dafrawy is going to give him a lot of problems. This fight's really just going to come down to me of whichever game plan gets implemented the best. If the kicks of Dafrawy are giving Zendeli a lot of problems, I could see Dafrawy definitely winning. If Zendeli mixes in the grappling here, I think he can have success. But I'm going to say that Zendeli mixes in the grappling here and uses the forward pressure to take away those kicks. So give me Zendeli here to get this one done.
Have you seen Omar's grappling?
It's decent. I like the wrestling and the top pressure of Zendeli, but we got some dissension. We can disagree, but one thing I will say, I don't know how you feel about this fight. One thing I will say about this fight, I'm happy that this one's off. This fight did get cancelled, unfortunately. Is it Tukhugov? I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but
Tukhugov.
Yeah. This fight sucked. I never wanted to see this one. Guys that miss weight, guys with long layoffs, guys fighting in bare knuckle and not doing MMA. This fight's not happening. Carlos, do you want to say anything about this one before we move on?
No, I mean, I'm really sad that we're not going to get to see the return of Lobov, but I'm okay with it. I can do without it.
It's fine. It doesn't really matter either way. Zubarari is probably going to end up missing weight anyway and the fight getting cancelled. So I'm happy that he didn't even make it to the scales, but I digress.
Well, that was my pick, was that guy. Tukhugov, however. So that's who I had in it. And probably just that puffy hair got me.
It's the way he bounces around. The hair has to do it. That's what I base it off of too. Speaking of lack of hair in this fight, we have the heavyweights. We've got Slim Trabelsi taking on Poyer Rahmanov. I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this heavyweight banger? Someone's O's got to go.
That's correct, and this could turn out to be a very high level grappling match. I feel obviously if it goes that way, we're going to possibly see Rahmani here pull that off, but there's a lot more involved in MMA, and out of the two, Trabelsi here looks like he takes those chances when it comes to striking. He's ready to mix it up with his punches and his kicks, and I just feel that even clinch work, he's ready to throw knees, and he's just ready to mix it up in MMA. Whereas I feel Rahmani is most likely going to try to get this to the ground and look for a submission there or some ground and pound, ground control. But if it doesn't happen that way, because I don't think he's just going to, even though he does have some powerful takedowns, if it doesn't get there, I really don't see how else he's going to win this unless he's been working on striking and he just hasn't, unveiled that yet. But I am going to take Rahmani just because I feel that he has some very strong takedowns, and I feel that he's going to get this fight to the ground. Now, Trabelsi can get up and he can implement some striking, but is the striking going to be good enough to even be effective against Rahmani? I don't know, but based on I feel that this might be a little bit more of a grappling match, and Rahmani's takedowns, I'm going to go with him in this one.
Yeah, Rahmani was able to get the better of Slim in a grappling match, and now obviously transitioning over to MMA for this particular fight, running it back straight away. I'm actually going to go with Slim in this one. I think he gets the revenge and gets the win here. I think he's a little bit more complete as an overall MMA fighter. I think that Rahmani is obviously a very good grappler, definitely in terms of submissions as well. He impressed me on tape. He does compete more in the grappling than he does in terms of the MMA. Obviously, only 4-0 inside the cage. But heavy top pressure, good blast doubles. I think he's the better athlete out of the two. But like Carlos mentioned, it's the striking here that doesn't really fill me with confidence with him. Unless he shows something that we've not seen on tape, he's shown improvements in the striking. I just think that Slim's going to be able to have a lot of success in that world. I think he's got a little bit better striking out of the two. He is a high-level wrestler himself. I do think as well that if this fight plays out on the feet, I like Slim in this matchup. If it ends up being a lot, kind of a back and forth grappling affair, I do think that Rahmani can definitely have success. Slim can blast kicks from the outside. Obviously, he can wrestle. I'd like him to stay away from that and really just use the striking. Both guys not really known for the striking, known more for the grappling. I just think that if he uses more of a well-rounded MMA game here, he can beat Rahmani to the punch. No pun intended. If Rahmani is able to get this fight to the ground, though, he can definitely implement his grappling. He's definitely the better athlete, and he definitely has higher top pressure, and I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls off the upset. I'm going to go with Slim here to get this one done. I love saying Slim as well for a heavyweight that's slightly overweight. The irony.
Thickness last week, and this Slim this week.
Yep. And next up, we have Callum Loughran taking on Jack Cartwright. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this matchup?
I'm going to go with Loughran in this one. Cartwright is very good wrestling. He can scramble. High pressure, so even with his striking is also to look for more takedowns and more ground control. But and he does have the cardio to go with it too. My whole thing is that Loughran is he's a very strong grappler himself. Not really like very talented or technical. I just think he's very strong, and I think he has a little bit of a size advantage here against Cartwright. Because to me, I don't know, Cartwright looks like he should probably be another weight class down. But he's Loughran. He can hit. He's very strong. I think he's going to be able to keep this fight up on the feet. Now his output on the feet isn't that great, but he does throw pretty heavy for that weight class, and I think he's going to impose himself on Cartwright, and the problem that he's going to pose for him is he's not going to give him the takedown, and I feel Loughran is going to need to attack in the striking more than anything to sway the judges. So you may not have high volume, but you gotta push it on the feet, because if you don't, Cartwright's going to push it in the grappling department. So I'm going to take Loughran in this one. As that, I don't feel too confident about it just based on the pace of Cartwright, but I feel the strength of Loughran is probably going to keep him on the feet, and he can probably impose himself that way.
Yeah, to me, when I look at Jack Cartwright, he kind of reminds me of Derek Minner over from the UFC. He's pretty much like, looking for the submission, or he's kind of a fish out of water. I wasn't necessarily all that impressed with him, especially in the striking. He kind of just wings hooks to get into the clinch or get into his takedowns. And I think he's going to struggle to get Loughran down to the ground here. I think I agree with Carlos. I think Loughran is the bigger, stronger guy. I think he can definitely impose his will here, especially on the feet. I think that Loughran really just needs to kind of mind his P's and Q's on the feet, not overextend and engage too much in the grappling. And obviously his loss to his victory over Nathan Fletcher that he got. I thought Nathan Fletcher won that fight, but he did show the skill sets that he needs in order to beat a guy like Jack Cartwright in this matchup. I think he keeps this one on the feet. I think he can chew up the calf of Cartwright, just keep the boxing very simple. I think this is a nice, easy matchup for him to transition over into the PFL, if I'm being honest. And when I watch Cartwright on tape, he's a guy that, he is good at scrambling. He is very low output on the feet, but he's really just giving up positions in order to go for submissions. I think Loughran can definitely kind of keep him and hold him down. Just basically watch his limbs, making sure he doesn't get submitted off of his back with Cartwright, kind of throwing up submissions off of his back. But I just think all of the damage here and all of the aggression is going to be on the side of Loughran. I think this is an ideal stylistic matchup here, and I think he gets this one done either by finish with ground and pound, or maybe a dominant decision victory here for Callum Loughran inside the PFL. And next up, we have Sergio Pettis taking on Magomedov, and I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this matchup?
I'm going to take Magomedov. That is, he's a talented kid, but he's looking to counter strike and pretty much counter wrestle. And he's not old, but he's been in some wars himself too. I think they're about the same age, these two guys. And to me, when it comes to somebody like Pettis who doesn't get off first in fights, it means they're always fighting from behind. And with somebody like Magomedov, I feel like he's looking to get in your face and to mix it up. And against somebody like him, I feel if you're fighting from behind from round 1 to 3, you're most likely not going to get a decision unless you catch him with something. And I don't think he's going to catch him with anything. Not that he can't. It's just Sergio's had a little bit of a. I don't know, because I don't want to say it's a genetic thing, obviously, because the two are different. But Anthony Pettis started to fade pretty early in his career, and I'm not saying Sergio started to fade, but you had a 3-fight skid, and then now all of a sudden, like you win one against someone. It wasn't like the greatest performance, and now you're gonna go against someone who's high pressure, and you like to fight off your back foot, and he's kind of like a sniper, but he's not the guy with that one punch pop or that one strike pop. So I'm gonna go with Magomedov in this one. I think he can push the pace and get the decision in this.
Yeah, this one for me really just comes down to the wrestling of Nurmagomedov. I think I see with Pettis that obviously he can strike. He looks to counter Taekwondo style. He'll switch stances to throw kicks. And I do like his game. I just think that Magomedov's pressure in wrestling is going to be all it really takes for him to win this fight. I could see Magomedov, kind of mixing in the striking, luring Pettis into what he believes is going to be a back and forth striking affair. Magomedov gets a nice level change, gets on top, and really just sits in the guard, maybe half guard, full guard of Pettis, and just controls him for most of the rounds here, beating him up. That's just pretty much how I see this fight going. I think this is a great stylistic matchup for Magomedov. Obviously a high-level grappler, typical sort of Dagestani wrestling style. And to me, Sergio Pettis, like Carlos said, just because he was able to win his last fight against Rafael Stoltz, I mean, Stoltz has kind of been a little bit of a decline. It was not necessarily a bad performance by any means, but it's going to take a lot more than that to be able to beat a guy like Nurmagomedov. I think Nurmagomedov just imposes his will with the grappling, and that's all it's going to take. And let's be honest, Nurmagomedov isn't a slouch in the striking either. Even if Pettis does defend takedowns, he's got to worry about the hands and the power coming back here. And if Pettis tries to mix in his own grappling, Nurmagomedov has a nice guillotine as well. So I think wherever this fight goes, it's going to be Nurmagomedov. So pretty simple pick for me, to be honest. And next up, this is the fight I'm really looking forward to. We've got Archie Colgan, the undefeated 12-0 prospect, taking on J.J. Wilson, somebody I'm very, very high on. Carlos, do you share the same sentiments? I want to see who you pick in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I went with Wilson in this one. I think he's the more complete fighter out of the two. I know there's going to be a huge wrestling advantage for Colgan. I think he was an All-American wrestler. But like that's all he's got, and if it comes down to that, Wilson has some pretty good wrestling on his own. He can get out of bad situations, and he can scramble. And I just feel that a little bit of the edge is going to go to Wilson because he's dangerous on the feet. And even off his back, he's dangerous on the ground. Not so much the big submission threat, but he's going to throw elbows from the bottom. He's going to throw like some hammer fists off his back. When he's on top, he's going to try to beat you up in whatever position he can. And he's got that little bit of meanness to him where he wants to come after you. So can Colgan pretty much stifle that? He can. He's got very good wrestling, and he can smother him. If that's the case, it's going to be a very boring night. But I think it's going to be hard to smother Wilson. I think he's going to make this fight exciting, and he's going to force Colgan to actually have to fight. You might see a different side of Colgan in this one, but I think Wilson's got it.
Yeah, I'm going with J.J. Wilson too. I wanted to see who you picked in that one. Obviously, I'm pretty high on both of these guys. Colgan is a Division I, wrestler, very, very impressive former Division I wrestler out of Wyoming, undefeated confidence, I always say. when you have not tasted defeat, you kind of think that you're the man. And I think with J.J. Wilson, he's definitely going to test the limits here of Colgan. I agree with Carlos in that respect. Colgan, to me, where he lacks is kind of the striking element of MMA. Obviously, we know him as the wrestler, but he does kind of swing wild overhands in order to get into the clinch and set up his takedowns. He is very measured on the feet with his boxing. It's not like he overextends. I just think he likes to throw the overhand to get to the legs in order to initiate his wrestling. He has improved in his boxing, but I don't think it's improved enough to be able to handle J.J. Wilson on the feet. He has got explosive takedowns. I'd say he's probably the slight better athlete out of the two, but J.J. Wilson's kind of impressed me just based off of the fact that his fight with Izumi Nurmagomedov, for example, in his last fight against Mads Brunel, he's just shown levels to his game. He can sweep you off at bottom. He can mix in the wrestling and hold you down. His striking's very aggressive. He's got a high output. He's got power in the hands. He's got submissions. The guy's very, very well-rounded and still only 28 years old. Slight height, and decent amount of reach in this matchup as an advantage. And I just think here that if Archie Colgan can't hold him down, which I don't think he's going to be able to, he defended some of the takedowns against Usman. I think he's going to defend the takedowns here and win the striking exchanges. He uses submissions well to sweep as well. I think J.J. Wilson is a guy that people, if they don't know his name, they might know after him beating Archie Colgan. He's impressive to me. He's somebody to watch out for, and I like his toughness. So give me J.J. Wilson to get this one done. And next up, we have the co-main event here on the PFL Champions Series. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button as I butcher this name. We have Dovlet Yagshimuradov taking on Corey Anderson. Carlos, who you got in this co-main event?
You were going to go for the whole first name. I didn't know you were going for Dovlet. You had me fooled there. But in this one, I'm going with Anderson. Dovlet is he's ready to throw bombs. They're looping overhands, and he's a little wild. He's a little out of control sometimes, but if he catches you, you will be on Queer Street, and he is going to come after you if you're hurt. So I just don't see this fight being any different from their first fight. Like, I don't think there's anything different he can do. Whenever, Dovlet comes in swinging, Anderson would time a takedown, and then he's going to have to worry about the takedown. And if he completes the takedown, now he's got to work off his back to get back to his feet. And in the striking department, Anderson was good then, good enough to, stay on the feet and show him that he was, the better striker of the two. But, he's gotten even better since then. So I don't see, and I haven't seen that he's gotten better since Dovlet. I think he still fights the same way. So I'm going to go with Anderson. And I know I just tripped over a bunch of my words there as if I was trying to pronounce his name, but I'm taking Corey Anderson this one. I think he's got it.
Yeah, I like Corey Anderson in this matchup here with Dovlet, obviously a basic kickboxer, throws one strike at a time. He does have power in his kicks and power in the hands. We've seen that when he knocked out Impa Kasanganay in the past. But I think Corey Anderson, just being the bigger, stronger guy, he's got the better wrestling. I think he can really, kind of dictate where this fight goes. If he wants to play it out on the feet, I think he can have success. He throws in combination. He's fought the higher level of competition as well, fought against the bigger competition as well. And if he wants to mix in some grappling, I wouldn't blame him here. If he wants to shoot the double leg, get this fight to the ground, wear on Dovlet, kind of drain some of that power away from the strikes, I don't blame him. But I just think with Corey Anderson, he's shown an ability here, especially in the PFL, that if you put him against, 205ers, he can mix things in. If he shows him, he wants to show up and fight against heavyweights, against Goltsov, he can get it done with the wrestling as well. If he's taking down Goltsov and pounding him out with ground and pound, he can definitely do that to Dovlet. And that's led me to pick him here. I like Corey Anderson to get this one done. Although I do think, Dovlet is a talented guy. He does have power. He can put anybody out. Impa Kasanganay has not necessarily looked all that good recently, and that's his most recent kind of claim to fame victory recently. So it's kind of a what have you done for me lately? Corey Anderson's shown me that he's still got it, still very skilled and can beat high-level guys, whereas Dovlet's beating a guy who's on the decline. I know that's MMA math, but when you compare the skill sets, I just like Corey Anderson in this matchup to mix in the wrestling. And that brings us to the main event of the evening, the one that everybody came to see. We have Paul Hughes taking on Usman Nurmagomedov 2. Carlos, the very first fight was a close one. I know you said you're undecided. You want me to take this one first, or you decided in this fight?
You go ahead, man, and I'll hear what you got to say.
I'm going to go with Hughes. Am I going to go with Hughes? Yeah, I'm going with Hughes. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I'm going with Hughes. And I think I said to Carlos before we went live on this one, that obviously this fighting over in Dubai, I'm always the conspiracy corner guy. If this fight is close, I think they give it to Nurmagomedov. Obviously being over in Dubai, I think the oil money kicks in. But when you talk about both skill sets, Usman can obviously mix in the wrestling, as his last name would suggest. 19-0, he was able to scrape out the victory against Hughes in their first fight. I think this one really just depends on, is Usman going to come in here a more polished, well-rounded fighter than he was in the first fight. He did slow down in that matchup, which allowed Hughes to kind of take over. I think Hughes did a fantastic job of defending the takedowns in their first fight. When it comes to the kicks from the outside of Usman, I think that he does a good job of being able to mix in his attacks to the body and kind of the calf. But Hughes does a great job of mixing in his boxing. He likes knees up the middle, which is definitely a weapon he can use against the Nurmagomedovs and any of the Russians that try to take him down and implement their grappling. I just have this weird feeling with Hughes. When he fought in his previous fight against Bruno, was it Bruno Miranda? When he fought in that fight, I was saying to Carlos, if that was a back and forth striking affair and, Hughes didn't necessarily have a whole lot of success and it was kind of an iffy performance, then I'd say, yeah, give me Nurmagomedov. Maybe it was just a fluke performance, but he got that done in seconds. He knocked him out in seconds. And maybe Hughes is the real deal. I'm going to say that he is the real deal. I think he defends the takedowns. I think that the pressure holds up. I think Usman's going to fade here. I think Hughes is going to take advantage, and I think he's going to be prepared in this matchup. He looked good in the first fight. I'm going to say he gets it done in the second one. Give me Paul Hughes to get this one done. Go out on a limb here and take the O away from Nurmagomedov. Carlos, who are you going with?
Well, with Hughes, I would say that if you want to throw a little something on there, like I wouldn't say it was a bad idea, but it's hard for me to not go with Nurmagomedov based on the fact that I do feel that he underestimated Hughes. Now, you know what I mean? I feel like even though he underestimated him, I know that in Khabib's camp, they're very strict. And it's not like he ran any less sprints. It's not like he didn't run that extra mile or do that extra push-up or whatever. I just feel that maybe they took it a little easier. And if you ask me, I feel that could they win 3 rounds? I think they can still win 3 rounds because I feel that even though they say that, they kind of appear to have thought that they underestimated Hughes. Okay, there's even an interview where Hughes is actually yelling back at Nurmagomedov saying, "You're overlooking me. You're overlooking me." And I'm like, is it a mental thing? Did he mentally just overlook him? And I'm thinking, even if he did, I think that he could be in enough shape to get 3 rounds, because I thought Hughes won at least the last 2 rounds. I think he could do enough to win those 3 rounds outright and still get the decision. I don't know what else Paul Hughes is going to bring to it. The only thing he can do is actually pick up the pace a little bit, because in round 4 he started to pick it up and he started ripping to the body a little bit more and he started coming back up top. He was able to defend more of the takedown. He's able to defend it. And with Nurmagomedov getting that tired, it was making me believe, like, how strong is Hughes? Because he stuffed some takedowns pretty easy from Nurmagomedov, even though he was really trying for him. And that's probably what led to him getting tired. Now, same thing, if he runs a couple extra sprints, runs a couple extra, miles, like, is he going to get in that much better shape for this second fight? I don't think so, but I think he does just enough to win 3 rounds again and get the decision. But again, I'm going to say I don't believe him being in where are they in Dubai. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to be enough. If it gets close to sway it to Nurmagomedov, but I think I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov to win this one. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Hughes actually comes out and shows another dimension to the game because he fought Usman and maybe he got the rub and he's ready to go out and go after him again. Mind you, he wasn't hurt in the first fight. He was just, I think he was a little cautious against Usman because Usman does have some pretty good striking, and you always got to worry about the takedowns. And I think Hughes is probably going to let it go a little bit more in this one, but I'm going to stay safe. I think Nurmagomedov can still get those 3 rounds and get it done.
Either way, regardless of whatever side you're on, I think this is definitely one you sit back as an MMA fan and you sit back and enjoy. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. What do you want to say to the people before we wrap things up?
I'm going to say if Paul Hughes wins, I don't know, because I have a feeling too he's going to win, but I'm going to say go with your gut on this one, everybody, if you're throwing something at it, because I definitely won't be. I'm too much of a chicken, but I'm going to go safe with Nurmagomedov, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know I was tripping over my words. I'm actually trying to think about who I think is going to win now, even though I said Nurmagomedov, but with my confusion, don't let that confuse you. I hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, let us know in the comments who you guys want. If you guys think Hughes, let us know in the comments. If you like Nurmagomedov, let us know. And as always, hit that like and subscribe button. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.